Welcome back. This is TV3Newday. It's time now for the big issue, and it's time to take a look at what is making headlines in our dailies. We'll start off with the Daily Statesman, and the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is on the front page. He says, leverage technology to train next leaders. Bawumia charges academic institutions. Boku under curfew over renewed shootings, and government commissions plastic bottle collection center. Now go on to the Daily Guide, and it says here that Nana frowns on Africa's reliance on World Bank, and there's a photo of the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, with some other stakeholders as well. Lawyer Dechis Kaswa teen killer. New charges for Collins Dauda and for others. Remember that they're facing some charges concerning the Saglemi housing, scandal, and we're told that some new charges have been preferred on him. Drastic times deserve drastic measures, according to Momo agents. They did a U-turn yesterday and said the media misrepresented them by saying that they approve of the e-levy. I don't own Sompa FM majority leader. Yesterday, he spoke to our colleague in the Ashanti region, and he had quite a lot to say. He spoke to William Evans in Kum. Ghanaian Times, let's raise funds internally for development. President urges African leaders. And that's a photo of President Nana Akufo-Addo with Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. He's the president of the African Development Bank. That was after a meeting at the Jubilee House. IPP chamber kicks against cost recovery tariff demand by ECG. ECG says that, well, we're losing a lot of money, and so it's time for us to increase, the tariffs, especially since a lot is going into production. Schools in Boku closed down following renewed chieftaincy clashes. Strengthen health system in sub-region, ECOWAS told. Daily Graphic, it says that funding Africa's development, AFDB needs capitalization, according to the president. Utility companies want increased tariffs. Water companies also asking for some 334% increase in tariffs. They say we need to pay that, otherwise they will not be able to supply water to households anymore. Burial of Dasibre Otibuating, no trading activities in New Jabin. Danger of smoke revealed. Inhalation causes hypertension, pneumonia, lung problems, according to a research that has been conducted. Business Finder, cost of capital, corruption, bureaucracy, impeding growth of business. This is a survey that was conducted, and that is Ajoba Chaima. She's executive director for the United Kingdom Ghana Chamber of Commerce. Republic Bank appoints new MD. GSE, JSE forge strategic relationship, and transport fares, according to the Business and Financial Times, says take toll on inflation. Hits 23.6% in April. This is the highest in 18 years. The last time that we recorded something as high was in August 2019. Harsh realities hit power sector as players demand significant tariff hikes. Cashlight's agenda hits major snag as many buyers abandon payments with mobile money. GCTU outdoors 7 new professors, and in the banking sector, Republic Bank appoints new MD. Joining me in the studios this morning is Ellen Amadeko. She's running for the women's organizer for the NPP, clad in her party colors as well. And I can imagine, how much work is going into campaigning, especially because we're inching closer to the internal elections for the NPP. Good morning.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
How's campaigning also doing?
Well, it's going well.
Yeah.
This morning we are having our constituency elections in Ningo Prampram. So I'll be there. One of my ladies is contesting. I'm going to support her. So I'm asking all delegates in Ningo Prampram to please vote for Rebecca Kuma. She's going for second vice chairman.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The ladies this year, we didn't give chance at all. We are going for all the positions.
Oh, so there are lots of you this time.
Yes. And fortunately, and let me say congratulations to all the NPP loyal ladies who won at the elections for various positions, constituency. I think we have over 20 ladies who won. More than that. About 75 of us competed and are competing. But for her first start, if we have more than 20 winning, it means we are making very good inroads. And I will forever keep on saying that group, that volunteer group, has been very good for the NPP and the young ladies in the NPP. So Mrs. Kuma is also going for second vice in Ningo Prampram. So I would ask everybody who votes there, the delegates, to please vote for Sister Rebecca and Tines.
Okay.
Yes.
But for you especially, what do you bring on board, which is why you're asking for them to give you that vote to be women's organizer?
Just by looking at me, you see one of the things I bring on board. I think I can convince you to vote for the
Oh, you
NPP.
can?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I can.
I'm watching along with everyone,
yes,
so let's see.
I can convince you to vote for the NPP in 2024, but that's by the by. Basically, I am bringing in a new face, a new energy, new strategies. I believe that if we want to break the 8, as we have been screaming to all of you, and we intend to break the 8, we can't do the same old things and expect new results. We need to do something different. And doing something different means changing our leadership. It's as simple as that at the party level. Bringing in fresh legs with new ideas and new strategies. So that's one of the things I'm bringing on board. I have 4 areas that I want to concentrate on when I'm voted. And the one I'm actually discussing this week is empowerment and resourcefulness.
Okay.
Women in politics are not that well resourced. And I think we should use the times and the seasons and the opportunities that are bound for all Ghanaians. And I believe my party, my political party, has created a lot of opportunities for young women, for young Ghanaians. And the women of the NPP should make use of it.
Okay.
So one of my basic things that I will look at is to make sure that our constituency women organizers have some businesses running in the name of the women's wing of the party. It is not illegal to have a business running as a wing of the NPP or of any political party to help support your activities in the constituency.
Okay.
Because sometimes you need to get things done and you have to now write letters of support to sponsors, to the regional body, to the national body. By the time the money comes, that is even if any comes, whatever is going wrong has gone wrong. But if you have a business running in your constituency, managed by you, the women's organizer, and your women, that's to take care of a few things. Typical example, I come from a constituency where we grow cashew.
Okay.
We do a lot of cashew. So why can't the women wing of Wenchi constituency, maybe a 5-acre, 10-acre, 15-acre, 20-acre cashew farm to run our activities? And you'll be surprised that the cashew farms are actually very lucrative. So these are some of the things I would encourage our women and actually get them to set up and do, so that we are not overly reliant on the party. And sometimes it's really, and that's the question a lot of the media and all of us are asking, how do we even resource our political parties? And when you have things going like this, there's money. The woman will account for it. When you are leaving, you account to the next person who is taking over. And then you can have some money coming in.
Okay.
And then these issues of corruption and where do you get your money from and who is sponsoring you, it is traceable. We can find where you are getting your money from. That's one of it. The rest, when I come out,
maybe another time. Yes, we'll talk about it. But let's go into a major topic this morning. Yesterday, new figures were given as per the inflation in the country, and it says that surging food prices, transport fares push inflation to 23.6% in April 2022, and this is according to the Ghana Statistical Service. So it says 4 divisions: transport 33.5%, household equipment and routine maintenance 28.5%, food and non-alcoholic beverages 25.6%, and housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels 25.0% have recorded inflation rates above the national average of 23.6%, with transport recording the highest. Now, national month-on-month inflation from March 2022 to April 2022 was 5.1%. Remember that back in March, inflation was at 19.4%. And so we're told that this is the highest in the last 19 years. Let's take a look at a story that we put together quickly. We'll come back and have a conversation.
From a regional perspective, Central Region recorded the highest rate of inflation of 26.7%, and the Upper East Region recorded the least rate of inflation of 18.4%, with domestic inflation, otherwise known as locally produced items, recording an inflation rate of 23.0% relative to imported inflation 24.7%. As was indicated, this is the first time that imported inflation in the last 29 months has recorded inflation rates surpassing domestic inflation with a difference of 1.7 percentage points.
All right, and so that is the situation at the moment. And yes, highest since August 2009. Pardon me, I keep saying 2019. August 2009. 109. This is where we find ourselves in. Remember that just on Saturday, the GPRTU announced the hike in transport fares by 20%. There was back and forth between them and the Road Coordinating Council as to whether they really informed them before, because usually there's supposed to be some engagement between the GPRTU and the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council on their proposal for an increment, and that goes to the Ministry of Transport. I mean, GPRTU says that we're autonomous, and so we don't need the approval of the Coordinating Council before we go ahead and increase prices. We wrote to government, they did not respond to us, and so we had no choice because our businesses were also failing. So all that plus food inflation has contributed to where we are today. Ellen Amadeko is here, and she speaks for the NPP and for government as well. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Again, and this situation, I mean, Ghanaians are not too happy. I'm
not too happy.
You're not happy?
Of course, because it affects my pocket.
Okay.
I have to go to the market, and it means I have to pay 23% extra for what I have to pay for. So Ghanaians, all of us, are not happy about it. And I expected that, I believe that from the beginning of this year, we've been told that we should expect a few things to go up and it should get a bit worse before it gets better. So it's not unexpected that our inflation, in fact, looking at the trends, I expect that it might even go slightly higher again before it tables out. What I expect us to do as Ghanaians is to actually look at it very well, look at our ways, patterns of life and what we do. Government has given us what they intend to do, and I expect government to continue doing everything possible to cushion us. The president, I think, was it last week that I heard him saying that as for the fuel prices, the taxes cannot be taken off again. He explained why we've taken enough off. So we have to look at other ways and means of cushioning Ghanaians in the sector, especially in relation to food. My worry is with the food and with the agri sector. We are getting information from all the agri people that because of the fertilizer issues, we might have a problem with food security next year. What exactly is the Ministry of Agri doing about it? What are our reserves? What should we do? These are times where we have to get all Ghanaians involved in this matter. The typical thing that we do, inflation is high, and then we come and talk about it, and then we get up and we go. I think those days are past and gone. Practical means. So with this, I think I'll be on the case of the Ministry of Agri. And officially, I would want to ask them, yes, there have been complaints by the farmers. I think it is the Peasant Farmers Association. They've been making a lot of complaints about our food security in 2023. And immediately food is touched, inflation automatically will go up. So if you've realized, in the past 1 month, food prices have really gone up.
They have.
So what is the Ministry of Agri telling us? How is our buffets going? Do we have enough stored up? If we don't, what are they doing? Information from the Ministry of Agri, getting it is a bit tough, I have to admit it, but they should let us know. But I expect this to go a bit higher, maybe in the next month before it starts tabling off and then
I mean, if you're asking what the Agri Ministry is doing, I remember that the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Fiakoto, recently spoke sometime in March, and he did say, and I'll just quote exactly what he said. He said, planting for food and jobs has been extremely successful. It has changed the attitude of people of Ghana towards agriculture. The youth and lots of business people and middle-class people are now going into it. And I've achieved my objective of demonstrating that it's not just illiterates that do agriculture, but also he says that it's made it very attractive and it's been successful.
It's true.
So if we have the minister saying that it has been successful, and yes, we're at this point, also we had the minister say that we're becoming a net exporter of food. And yet the prices of food on the markets are going quite high. We still import tomatoes into the country.
In fact, there's none. We can't even get something imported.
But exactly. But even at a point where we should be able to grow our own vegetables, we're importing tomatoes. Because even the ones that we grow here, we're told that the life span of those vegetables are really short. So if you buy locally grown tomatoes, you have to do something to it immediately. Otherwise, it cannot even last more than 2 or 3 days.
That's been the case for years, especially with the vegetables matter. But let's.
But how then does the minister say that it has been extremely successful?
I totally agree with him that it has been successful. I have young people who have gotten into agric. You know, I was speaking about cashew farming a few minutes ago. So yes, the pay for PFJ, Planting for Food and Jobs, PFJ, has been quite successful. But that doesn't stop us from experiencing the inflation we are experiencing, because worldwide food prices have been shooting up. So we cannot stop it from going up. What we can do is to make sure that we have enough for ourselves. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. The fact that somebody has gotten into planting for food and jobs and is planting and has harvested his foods, he will sell it at the price that will benefit him. Let's also remember that we've been having issues with rainfall for a few years now. This year, the rain pattern has been something else. So all these things would affect the food that we produce. All these things said and done does not take away from the successes of the planting for food and jobs. But there are challenges. There are challenges. And some of the challenges is actually even getting the food from the farm gate down to us. You're talking about the lifespan of tomatoes. It's not just tomatoes, add garden eggs, add okra. I come from a constituency where we grow all these things, especially okra and garden eggs. By the time these women come to Accra with the garden eggs, Bella, half of it is gone bad. Because they are expecting to transport this maybe in 5-6 hours. The car will get spoilt on the way. They will have, some of them are even attacked at night when they are coming. So by the time the food gets to the main market centers, it is 3, 4, 5 times as expensive as where you got it from. These are the little issues that we should be dealing with. Because the food can be very cheap at the market gate. But by the time it gets to Accra here, it will be 3 times as much. These are the little bottlenecks, and it's been here for ages. So for planting for food and jobs and its productivity, I see it as very different from delivering the food to you and me to eat here in Accra.
But all that still
all those in between, that those what the agri people have a way of calling it markets, where the food passes through, the stages it passes through to get to the final consumer. Planting for food and jobs is one. Is the initial one. Is the planting. Is making sure that the food is produced. After it is produced, how do we get it to us?
But are they producing enough?
I think,
and that's the thing. There was a prediction that we're going to fall into a food shortage crisis.
You know what is also happening?
Even that it was disputed by the minister and said that was wrong.
The minister sits on information that the rest of us do not sit on. So perhaps he has information that I don't have.
That's the Peasants Farmers Association don't have, that the Agric Workers Union don't have. Those are the people in the trenches, and they are telling you that looking at the shortage in fertilizers, looking at the shortage in fertilizers and the way even planting for food and jobs is being handled, there needs to be a review, because otherwise we're going to run into shortage. They predicted that.
As I said,
and was disputed by the ministry.
The minister sits, and his ministry sits on information that most of us do not have. I buy food from the market, just like you do, and everybody else does. I have been to farms and I have seen how they farm. And I have seen the benefits that plant. I just don't want us to rubbish the benefits of planting for food. We might have problems with the implementation, we might have problems with, but it has been good. But we also do not have to pretend that there are no issues with it. There are. And we have to discuss those issues. The minister can choose not to discuss it. The rest of us will discuss it. For somebody like me who buys food, it is important that we cut those losses between getting the food from the farm and to me. What has over the years, what have we done to get all these things done? Because if we're able to close that gap, I believe some of the food prices will come down. And remember, most of the prices too are seasonal. Tomatoes, for instance, there are times it goes so high. And there are times too that it is in abundance and we don't know what to do with it. What have we done about food processing and keeping these, when it is in abundance, how do we keep it? All this, we've been talking about it for years. And I was on the ministry's case that they should let us know facts and figures. Yes, Peasant Farmers Association have told us what they see. The other group that Agric Workers have told us. It is the ministry that has to give us exactly what is happening. What are the facts and figures that they have?
You've been on them. Have they given you the responses?
I'm still here. Please, let's go on.
So do you think that in that case, the minister has failed?
The
because
minister
we cannot be at a point where
the minister, as I
food
said,
prices have gone so high. We are asking, and
Bella,
you are no, it's your
as
party
I
that's
said,
in power.
the minister
if you are
of
asking
Agric
and you are not getting the answers, how much more the regular
and his
Ghanaian?
people will bring us the details when they
Do
are
we
ready.
need to review and audit the planting
We
for
do
food and
need to
jobs?
review regularly all flagship programs. It's not just the flagship program. Every program that you're on, you have to review it. Every year you have to go through what are the failures? What have we done wrong? What are we not doing right? Those ones, and I know they do it every time. As I said, it is facts and figures. Unfortunately, as we sit here, we don't have those facts and figures. The facts and figures we have is that food prices are going up. And some of us are asking questions that in between the time you plant, in between the time you harvest, and the tomatoes are ready sitting by the roadside at Akumadan, between Akumadan and Accra. How come the price can jump from a bucket of tomatoes at Akumadan maybe at 15 cedis, 20 cedis, and it gets to Accra and it's 150 cedis, it is 200 cedis. Those in between, the issues that go on there, how are we solving it? As I said, it's about the practicality of it. It's about getting the things done. As for the theory, the agri people have been doing theory for years. It's high time we go to the practicals. Getting the food down to us is the most important thing, because if you're able to get it to us in a good state and in the correct quantities, we are not going to have this sort of high, because food just gets spoiled on our roads all the time. And all of it adds to it. But then we should also be looking at our rainfall issues. And then we should be looking at our irrigation issues and the rivers and the ponds and the pools that we have spoiled. Now you cannot use our rivers to irrigate your food again.
But that's why you promised us one village, one dam.
One village, one dam is for the northern part of Ghana. We don't plant food only in the northern part of Ghana. I come from the Bonahafu regions, where over the years we have not to use dams for our irrigation purposes. We use rivers, or we use the rainfall.
But even in the places where we're promised dams, did we get the dams?
They are there.
They are there?
Yes.
In every village?
According to the Ministry of, the defunct Ministry of Special Initiatives.
But the media
and
went
now,
round.
And when you went around, you didn't see any dams?
The dams weren't there. So if you say they are there,
No,
according to the ministry...
When you went round, the dams were not there.
According to the ministry...
That's what you're saying.
Where exactly are these dams? And if you're saying they're there...
Unfortunately, this is I am the wrong person and the wrong time to ask me. You didn't tell me you're coming to discuss
we're talking about inflation, we're talking about food and all of that.
We are talking about
one village, one dam still affects food production in the country.
The northern part of Ghana. And you are telling me that not even one single dam
I'm not saying not even one, but I'm saying that when the media went around,
the dams were not there.
Promised were
Which
not
of the medias? Which of the media stations?
But I work for a media station. You are
and when you went,
TV3.
you didn't even get one dam.
Some of these dams are not there. So
you didn't get one.
What did you promise? One village, one dam.
What we promised was we were going to do
fulfill this promise?
Irrigation dams for the farmers.
Did you fulfill the promise?
Yes, they have been done.
In every village?
They have been done.
In every village?
You are saying that they haven't been done.
In every village?
Until you prove to me that they haven't been done, the villages that need it have it.
So prove to me as well.
When you come down,
made a promise.
When you come down
dams
from
available?
The northern part of Ghana and you come to the Bonahafu region, where I live and where I have seen farmers, we do not use dams. We use rivers and we use rainfalls. These rivers and rainfalls, all of us have helped in damaging it. So you cannot use those rains, those rivers to irrigate the food crops. So we have to depend solely on rainfall. And anytime rain doesn't come, your plants, of course, they wilt away and they die. These are all factors that affect our food production. The northern part of Ghana, where the dams were promised, are one part. The southern part of Ghana, well, you can add the Bonahafu to the northern part, where we need other sources of irrigation and water. What are we also doing about them? How are we helping them? These are all the little issues we should be looking at. Until these issues and bottlenecks are addressed, and they've been here for generations, until they are addressed, our inflation at certain points of the year are going to go up.
Let me read something for you. So government has made no attempt to reconstruct or improve upon the quality of dams that were poorly constructed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. Neither has any budget allocation been made for further work to be done on the dams, most of which dried up during the dry season. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana recently went on a tour to inspect the dams in the Upper East region, says the farmers could not use them for any other purposes except serving as a source of drinking water for animals. And the NPP government introduced the One Village, One Dam initiative to construct dams in some villages to support the farmers. However, when they were eventually constructed, the dams did not even meet the expectations of Ghanaians as they were poorly constructed. And so if you tell me that it has been successful, they did it, what purpose is it serving at the moment if it still cannot be used as irrigation processes for these farms?
Are the animals not using it?
Are they not part? Dams for animals?
They are part of the farming system. Are the animal farming not part of
So that's good
farming?
enough when they're not getting
I'm not
water
saying it is
for
good
their
enough.
farms?
The peasant farmers went to Western, which of the regions?
Upper East region.
So is it the only the Upper East region that they went to?
But at least they went there.
So if there are issues there, they know where to get to. Asking me this question here at this time, when I don't have any information on it, how true?
You speak for
how
government.
True?
You came up with the issue about one village, one dam.
What they are even saying, how true is it? Have you gone to check if what they are saying is true, and it's not just a matter of them trying to get maybe a certain agenda across.
Online.
The thing has been constructed. To them, it is not to their whatever they were expecting it to be. But it has been done. And to ask me if it has been serving the purposes for which it was done, obviously it has. If you have issues with it, you go to the agency responsible for it. Have the agencies replied? You don't have any information whether they have replied to this issue.
But these are the farmers who are speaking.
I'm not saying that they don't have a right to speak or what they are saying may not be true. What I'm saying is that it has not been verified. So to ask me if it is not for the purpose. Animal farming, animal husbandry is part of farming.
Is that why these dams were dug out?
It's part of it for them to use for irrigation, for the animals to also get water when they need it. So to tell me that one part of it has been done and the other part to you hasn't been done, therefore the whole program is in shambles, that is unfair.
But if you're doing an assessment, you should also look at the purposes for which this initiative was put out. So if you're not achieving your mandate, how do you then say that it has been successful? For the Agric Minister to come out and say that planting for food and jobs has been extremely successful, when even the dams that were dug out have dried up.
The special initiatives now is a department. It's at the presidency. It is headed by my sister Napagatia. She's gone round. She's seen what they've done. If there are any issues with any of the dams, I've shown where they can go and let her know so that we get a reply from them. You just don't put out a statement about your opinions about something and you want us to take it as law.
It's not my opinion. I'm reading.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the whoever went around to go and do
Farmers
that.
Association.
What was the reaction or what response have they gotten from the people who are responsible for it? But to tell me that the whole thing is in shambles because animals are drinking from it, I'm telling you that animal farming, animal husbandry is part of farming. So if the animals have used it, maybe 50% of the purpose for which it was built has been fulfilled. The other 50%, we have to look at it. But the program has definitely helped.
Okay, well, we'll be joined by our second guest shortly so we can have a conversation further on this. We're talking about the inflation rate at the moment, which has hit 23.6% in April 2022. This is 4.2 percentage points higher than the 19.4% recorded in March 2022. This is according to the Ghana Statistical Service. We'll touch more on it when lawyer Joyce Mokhtari joins us shortly. But let's also take a look at some concerns that have been raised by other stakeholders concerning this.
If you take macroeconomic policy, there are always trade-offs. Once you try to resolve another one also pops up. So we need to find a very balanced line between inflation and the policy rate. And I think we also have to look at how we can also produce more goods within the local economy. So if you are producing the food that we are importing, definitely with abundance food means that the inflation on food and food-related commodities won't go up. So it's a collective responsibility for all of us to look at both the monetary and the physical aspect of it, and also look at macroeconomic policy. There are always trade-offs. Once you try to resolve another one also pops up. So we need to find a very balanced line between inflation and the policy rate. And I think we also have to look at how we can also produce more goods within the local economy. So if you are producing the food that we are importing, definitely with abundance food means that the inflation on food and food-related commodities won't go up. So it's a collective responsibility for all of us to look at both the monetary and the physical aspect of it, and also look at the production aspect of it as well. Well, I don't think it's a good sign. If you have invested in any asset that is giving you a rate that is less than the 23.6, it means you have lost. It means the real interest rate will be zero. Or if it's more or less than that, it means the real interest rate will be negative. So it means that if I invested in anything that you are getting interest less than the current inflation rate, then it's not worth it. So investors will look out for countries or areas where they will get a higher rate, which is higher than the interest rate, so that their real interest rate will be positive. Every investor is looking for a positive real interest rate. So it's not a good sign for a country like us. And I think the earlier we do something about it, the better.
All right, so those are some concerns being shared. This is still the big issue. Joining us also this morning is lawyer Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. She is a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama and also a former Deputy Minister of Transport. Good morning.
Good morning, and a very good morning to you, Amma. How are you? Pleasure. So sorry I ran a few minutes late. I'm very bad affect on my way.
Totally understand. We're glad you're here, finally.
Pleasure.
And just earlier, we're talking about the inflation rates and how it's gone up highest in the last 19 years. We dovetailed into the agri sector, especially because food has also contributed to the inflation rate as it stands now. But what is your general overview of what's happening in the country at the moment?
Well, thank you very much, Bella, and good morning to Amma. And I've been informed that Amma has been going on and on and on all morning. But be that as it may, I think that irrespective of what we say, what defenses we put up, it is actually fundamentally important that first and foremost we acknowledge the very difficult times in which we are all living currently. We realize the enormous pressures that have been bestowed upon us. And that thirdly, we should also appreciate that no matter how we defend and how we posit, even our posturing, inflation at an 18-year high is abominably horrible. It is a huge fetter on all the inroads that we've made so far. It literally erodes every positive story that we can possibly think about, except for the fact that we have good health and that we are alive. So I would want to place on record that for the first time in our history, 18 years, inflation is at an all-time high. What then surprises me is the posturing of government and its actors failing to admit that their performance has been abysmal, that the corruption is what has actually totally taken over and destroyed the gains we were making in terms of our economic outlook. Secondly, even when you listen to the conversations going on about government, its own communicators, and surprisingly, when such very, very difficult things are being experienced by the same people who elected them into the high offices that they currently occupy, you realize that all we hear is a certain attempt either to distort the facts or to criticize where it is totally unnecessary, or even to create a certain erroneous impression that we should look at the factors in Ukraine, the issues in to do with COVID and all of these conversations that are going on. How long is government going to defend the indefensible? How long is government going to defend their rather abysmal performance? We remember all the promises they made years ago, being better managers of the economy, coming to protect the public purse, coming to ensure that Ghanaians no longer experience hardship, all sorts of things. All because you wanted power at all costs. I'm sure at the time we had asked candidate Akufo-Addo to even give his life to win that election. I have no doubt to my mind that he would have done it. I think that government needs now to start to retrack their steps, find a way to actually even swallow the humble pill and look into the eyes of Ghanaians. Tell us something better than what we are hearing. Look, go out there and see. You know, now I realize that every morning my staff are asking me for little money all the time. Oh, the fuel is finished. Oh, you know, we need to pay for this. Oh, we need to pay for that. And to be honest, no amount of money, no matter how little you have, is enough. everything just goes. At a time when nothing has changed, fees are the same. Fuel prices are at an all-time high. Look at the taxes on petroleum products alone for a country that is a net importer of crude items. Even to an extent, we even have some oil and gas reserves. Look at the cost of gas. I tried to buy gas a few days ago. I have 3 cylinders. And I was told that the 500 Ghana that used to fill it a few weeks ago can no longer fill the 3 cylinders. So now you need 750 Ghana cedis to do that. And even that one, I know that for the first time, they don't fill it to the brim. Look, there are very, very difficult things that we are grappling with. And a few days ago, somebody asked me, you know that the Ministry of Gender is actually where a lot of our vulnerable are actually being looked after. We currently do not have a substantive minister, or the minister that is there is actually gone AWOL. We have a huge sanitation challenge, and the same minister in charge of sanitation has also to have oversight for the gender ministry. And nobody is talking about these things. So what is happening to the vulnerable in that category? You know, we need to have very difficult conversations. I think that the gloves must come off. We must start to tell government and its key actors that the time to stop lying is now. The time to stop the deception is now. That the propaganda and all the effort it made to propel them to this level, Bella, it has totally fallen flat. There can be no gloves now for government to put on and continue to deceive the good people of Ghana. Look, yesterday I had reason to read a statement purportedly coming from our vice president. He set this example of calling his political opponents names, tagging them as incompetent, as ill-fit for a job, as unable to provide statistics and data. And I remember people would spend copious hours trying to decipher what he was talking about. He actually spoke at the University of Ghana Business School, a very high platform, instead of addressing the fact that Ghanaians are hungry and starving, that at a time when the National Health Insurance, all of the statutory funds are currently in what? In arrears. And nobody gives a toss what happens to the good people of Ghana. I have a young man in my employment whose father is very sick. Between the day before and yesterday, he has spent nearly 10,000 Ghana cedis to save his father's life. This is the reality that we are all grappling with. And you see, these things don't happen to just MPP or the NDC. They happen to all of us. I think that maybe we should actually start to call on you in the media to call this government out. Look, they have 547 failed promises, including the issue about the dams. And I remember on one of these platforms, they started to argue about whether it was a dam or a dugout. When we talk about irrigation under the S1 administration, it was to develop irrigable dams on the size of Palugu and the size of the Norip irrigation project to serve not just drinking water for animals, but to serve communities where water was lacking, to encourage all-year farming so that there's food. And I remember the agric minister bragging about the fact that all year round, we still had plantain. These were vestiges of the S1 administration and the investments that John Mahama and his government had made in that space. Look, there is a certain something that we ought to start to do, and I think the media can help us. Let's start fact-checking this government on the promises that propel them to where they are. Let's start a certain way that forces our leaders to speak only truth and to promise what they can deliver. And where they fail, I think that leaders must also show leadership by admitting to their failings and at least making amends. If you want to go to the University of Ghana Business School, speak to why the economy that you promised to work on has failed. Speak to why you are unable even to meet statutory funds. NHIL is a very crucial one.
And we'll come to
the
that.
ESLA, another crucial one. All of those funds are in arrears. And I heard the last time my boss, President Mahama, even cautioning against touching the Heritage Fund, which was established as a legacy to serve the future Ghana, because we don't know how long even this oil find will take. Look, Bella, I have always wanted to err on the side of caution and believing that when Professor Mills achieved that single-digit inflation, it was the best that any leader in government had ever done. I remember candidate Akufo-Addo at the time calling him Professor Doolittle. I think that we must call this government out on their abysmal performance and the disrespect of the same citizens who brought them into power. When I listened to Amma on my way in here, I was totally disappointed. I asked myself, should we not be a little bit more sensitive? Should we not even make an effort to admit, look, inflation at 23.6%. Do you know how much it wipes up your investment? Do you know how much it wipes up your capital with which you are doing business? Do you know the fear that it generates in the future of individual citizens? In a time when government has absolutely nothing in its coffers. Recently, there were the spring meetings. The IMF president had calls to advise Ghana that they were recommending that we set up a committee to discuss how we can sustain our current debt, which is at least 81% to our GDP. Where are the jobs they promised? Most of our young people are frustrated. I have young people on my timeline now, Bella, who are actually threatening to take their own lives because they are totally frustrated. They have nowhere to go. You remember what happened at the Youth Employment Agency? When they deceived people's children to come and queue for a job fair. Jobs that they knew they didn't have and had no idea what they were going to do in terms of placing those young people. They speak about the private sector. When we have inflation at 23.6%, what exactly is the private sector supposed to do?
But to be fair, I mean, Amma Deko earlier stated before you came in that she's also Ghanaian. She's also reeling under the current hardship. And so there are questions that she has posed to the Greek ministry and is expecting that they will come out and respond to some of these concerns.
Beyond their Greek ministry, we have a Minister of Finance who was very nasty in the course of the debates leading up to their coming into office, whose arrogance smacked of a person who didn't live in Ghana. We thought he was a repository of everyone that will change our fortunes. The president himself must take some responsibility. And as for the vice president, the least said about him, the better. And that slant yesterday of saying that the Honorable Asedun Ketia should come back and do his remedials at the University of Ghana Business School. His Excellency, Dr. Mabame, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Let's take this in bits, and I want us to stay in the food sector for a bit because it says that food and non-alcoholic beverages contributed 26.6% of the current inflation rate. I remember the Agric Minister had spoken in March, and he said that planting for food and jobs was extremely successful. The president had told us that we're becoming a net exporter of food. How then are we at this point?
Ask me. So you see, the reality is not what we are feeling, and it's not what we are being told. It is why I expect a certain modicum of sincerity from those in government. You see, you cannot rule through arrogance and pride, because when we go out there, the reality is what we face. If the food and planting for jobs is as glorious as we've been made to believe, and we are exporting plantain, for example, why are we buying 3 fingers of plantain for 300 cedis? You know a tuber of yam is 200 Ghana cedis. 20 Ghana cedis.
On the market. 20
on the
you
market,
mean?
20.
Okay.
And if you buy a slightly sizable one, it's 30. You know how much it costs to buy a tin of baby formula? From about 23 cedis, it is now 42 cedis. We buy these things every day. Have you heard about electricity tariffs? I found out just a few days ago that apparently the more you consume, the more you pay for. When did you ever hear that? In any case, the 143 million that they are talking about as a gap in the election, how much of it went into the PDS scandal? What investigation has gone into how much they received before that agreement was put on hold? Look, Bella, the only reason why Ghanaians are suffering is the unbridled greed of the people in power, the arrogance that is currently being displayed, and the total lack of respect for any other Ghanaian. When you listened to the Vice President yesterday, and I want to use that as a basis for everything we are experiencing, that he still even has the confidence to swipe at his political opponents. At least, before President Mahama left office or the NDC left office, inflation was not at 23.6%. All the other countries around us, even smaller economies, have done better in the period of the pandemic. We have called for investigations into how COVID resources were expended. And who is talking? Yesterday, the Business and Financial Times had reason to actually refer to the fact that COVID must be investigated, especially how the resources were spent. In South Africa, the health minister resigned. In fact, today as we speak, our finance minister should definitely not be on the job. Our agri minister should be apologizing and leaving that office. You see, they took us.
He says his project has been successful.
Where?
The finance minister came out and gave us details as to how much, 20% cut in expenditure in the country and the areas that we're looking at as well.
I think that one thing that this government has benefited from enormously is our desire even to give them the benefit of the doubt. Imagine and shut your eyes for 10 minutes that John Mahama were still president today and these problems were facing us. Just imagine what these people in government today would be doing. Imagine that free SHS, that the fees and tuition was in arrears. Imagine what these people will be doing in opposition. Imagine the transport fares were at an all-time high. Imagine what these people will be doing in opposition. Imagine that President Mahama stood on a platform and asked the vice president to go for remedial classes. Remember? And today, let me pay glowing tribute to the memory of Pakisi Misata, the former vice president of Ghana, when Dr. Baumia took him on with a list of 170 questions. A man who was a former governor, himself a lecturer in economics over many years. This economy has some structural limitations. One, it is our population. Two, is our inability to create jobs. President Mahama spoke about the need for a 24-hour shift system. Many economists have made this argument over the years, and government has refused to adhere to them. Look, there's a way that government is trying to avoid criticism, avoid accountability, refusing even to show Ghanaians respect. I keep asking every media person that I meet, imagine that today candidate Akufo-Addo was in opposition, and we had inflation rates of 23.6%. I think that this is totally appalling. It tells you this government has failed. In fact, save for the fact that we have to wait till 2024 for the election, we should be kicked out of office.
Okay.
And check the list of the failed promises. And please, let's stop this deception that we carry on day in, day out. Yes, we are all Ghanaians, but there are some who are more Ghanaian than others.
All right. Lawyer, hold on. And I'll let you come in shortly, but we have to take a quick break. This is the big issue. Please keep watching. We'll be right back.
Water gives life. Water is life. Enjoy the pure, refreshing taste of Awake purified drinking water, which comes in a uniquely designed bottle with a lemon green tap. Water is your perfect way to stay hydrated. And remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount will be donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, Ghana. Awake purified drinking water. One for life. For bulk purchase, contact 0262 351 251.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Aya woti ya wo be mem ana ya imo hyehyew wo sensu fitaa bi firi mu ba ugu nso ntentem ana ya wugu nso a na emu ache woti ya wo sabe wa ya ase esese wo bobirim se bi ana wo prostate ana hu aba hawo aya na onsa na ase wo na ya yetitiri waposo tutu wonante a no aye dududu aya ase bibi ne na mo widie mu ebia na stroke yade na ebo wo Sakrade endpoint ewa anaji Queen of Peace inside anaji police station echipe Tachiman endpoint homeopathic clinic ewo Hensa eni just bro filling station ene di hwanimu for endpoint homeopathic clinic ewo 0244 867 068
endpoint homeopathic clinic. I'm free.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Welcome back. The conversation continues on the big issue on TV3Newday. Keep your concerns coming in. The hashtag is TV3Newday. We're also streaming live on Facebook at TV3 Ghana and DSTV channel 279. In the studios, I have Elena Madeku, and she's currently running for Women's Organizer for the NPP, and also lawyer Joyce Mukhtar, former Deputy Transport Minister and also a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama. We're talking about inflation rates in the country and how high it has gone. Just before we left, Amma, you were going to touch on a few things that
I was going to
mentioned.
thank Lawyer Joyce for her advice on you cannot rule with arrogance and pride. And I wanted to say thank you because obviously she's gone through the system. She's gone through that curve of ruling with arrogance and pride. And that's why Ghanaians sent them packing in 2016. So when it's coming from somebody who has gone through the same situation and she's advising us, I can say that we'll take it in good faith. And most definitely assure her that we are not ruling in arrogance and pride. Because when I came here and we started this conversation, I did say that I'm also a Ghanaian. And finishing off, she said some Ghanaians are more Ghanaian than others. Who is more of a Ghanaian than the other? Nobody is more of a Ghanaian than the other. We all experience what we experience together. Is she trying to tell me that when they were in office, she was more Ghanaian than the rest of us? I don't think that is the case. So we are all going through the situation that we are going through. And most of us have been very candid about it. The president has opened up and said that, yes, we are going through stress. In fact, he started saying it from the day COVID hit, that we are going to go through a lot of stress. And if you remember, and that's one thing that he said that a lot of people, in a way, are trying to use it against him, when he said, we know how to bring the economy back, but we do not know how to bring a dead person back. So from day one, all of us have admitted that there are issues and that the issues have to be solved. Nobody has ever sat anywhere, well, nobody I know of has sat anywhere to say that we don't have any issues. We do have issues. It is the solving of the issues. So to create the impression as if the current government does not care and we are very different from the rest of Ghanaians. Didn't we come out of Ghanaians? Are we not living with Ghanaians? Are we not in the same society? So we are all going through the same issues. In any way, so the inflation rate we are talking about, the 18% for Ghana in the last 18 or 19 years. Let's remember that in other countries, it's been a 40-year high. Some are having 40%, some are having 60%. We are not in normal times. We have not been in normal times for the past 3 years. Every country is going through a lot. In fact, the whole world is in a recession. So definitely these issues are going to come up. So we should not pretend as if it is only in Ghana that we are going through this. In fact, in Ghana, I believe we have held ourselves quite well. I am not saying that there are no breaches. I am not saying that people have not been corrupt. I am not saying that people have not stolen. What I am saying is that we have managed it well. If you have any evidence of anybody stealing anything, of anybody being corrupt, you bring it out and we take the person on. But you do not put all of us, and therefore the leadership of the NPP, led by the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo, try to paint him black, that he is the person who brought, or is it President Akufo-Addo who brought COVID? Is it President Akufo-Addo who decided that the whole world should go into a depression? No. But it is President Akufo-Addo's duty to make sure that we come out of this as best as we can. And I think that is what he's doing. So this blanket statement and blanketing all of us together with pride and arrogance, unfortunately, that will not wash. Pride and arrogance is not a forte of the NPP.
But if we're saying that, of course, COVID has also ravaged our economy, we totally understand. If we look at our neighbors in West Africa, and we look at the inflation rate and compare to where we are now, even Nigeria is around 15%.
Now let's remember,
inflation rate. La Cote d'Ivoire is as low as 5%.
Nigeria.
And so 5.5% is what Cote d'Ivoire has. These are our neighbors.
Nigeria is having serious issues. Apart, the inflation can be good for them, but let's remember they're also having very, very, very serious issues with their economy. They can't even have access to the fuel. And remember, Nigeria produces fuel 100 times more than us. Fuel has practically disappeared in Nigeria. They go to the pumps, they are not getting it. Every country has its special sets of economic challenges. So our situation most definitely is not the same as the situation in Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast also have their set of issues. We are talking about our own. And there are other countries apart from us who are also doing very badly. What I'm trying to say is that worldwide, we are all not doing too well. What this country has to do, what our leaders have to do, is to make sure that we are well cushioned and we survive this. And let's remember, this is a period. It is a time. It will pass. How well do we survive it for it to pass? My issue here is the impression being created as if Mr. Akufo-Addo and the NPP is the panacea of all of Ghana's problems. No, it is a continuous process.
But he promised that.
Every country, every government at any particular time will face some challenges. Lawyer was asking us to close our eyes for 10 minutes and imagine what would have been said if President Mahama was still in power. In fact, I don't have to close my eyes. Opening my eyes wide, I can tell her and all Ghanaians watching me and listening to me that our circumstances would have been 100 times worse. Because the situation in which he left in 2016, when we didn't have a world pandemic, and the state of our economy in which they left. And now that every good thing that comes, that the NPP is doing, it was started by them. I heard her saying a few things about a dam that was supposed to be, when dams are constructed, they are supposed to be in a certain look and a certain way. Were any constructed by your administration in the make and in the feel of what we wanted to do? Every government has its policies. We have done ours. If we think what we did is not up to standard, yes, criticize us. But don't tell us about something you didn't do and compare us to what you haven't done. So if she's asking us to close our eyes and look at what Ghana would have been or what would have been said, I don't have to close my eyes. I can tell her that things would have been worse off.
All these countries that we're still talking about, for some reason, they've still managed to keep their inflation much lower than us, regardless of whatever challenges they may be facing. I think
currently we are still, our inflation is lower than that of Nigeria.
It is not. Nigeria is 15.5%.
Let me check.
It's not. Nigeria is low. I mean, Cote d'Ivoire is 5.5%. Burkina Faso is just around the same rate as Nigeria as well.
And don't even go far. Look, Ghana's debt alone in 2020 stood at $51 billion US. Nigeria's was how much? 31 billion. Have you seen the size of Nigeria? The economy, the population of Nigeria, the sheer economic size of Nigeria. You see, I think that is a challenge we have. And it is why I keep saying that the posturing is still that of arrogance. That even after you have failed to perform abysmally, even on the basics that you promised. Look, Frontiers Health was the one that was awarded a contract to do the testing at the Ghana Airport Company Limited. Who knows how they were procured? They were sole sourced. For all the monies they got, Parliament has been demanding a bipartisan probe for months now. What is the solution there? Has anybody spoken about it? Secondly, we sit here and we talk about, look, go back to the PIAC report. You know that the ECG bills, for all the noise that we hear every day from government actors, talking about the fact that they have paid for people's electricity bills. What did you hear the ECG PURC say? Government had not even paid for those rebates that they give to people in the course of COVID. And today, as we speak, the same public account tells us that government, in terms of procurement irregularities alone, Bella, is almost 860 million Ghana cedis, the highest in the history of this country. Look, sometimes, you know, we try very hard even to be reasonable. It is why I keep saying that the gloves must come off and we must call government out. First, on the failed promises. Secondly, on the attitude. Look, if we had any other government in place, today, if for nothing at all, they will be telling us that they are going after all the persons who have taken our monies and not accounted for them. They will go after the former CEO of the PPA. They will go after the former CEO of the Youth Enterprise Authority. They will go after the PDS issues and retrieve the monies owed ECG that were never returned to government coffers. They will go through the irregularities, recover those that can be recovered. The president himself will advise himself on the cost of his trips to expend over 28 million Ghana cedis on a trip is unconscionable.
He says it's a national security matter that cannot be discussed
for any
in
leader,
the open.
It doesn't matter what they say. In any case, where do you hear that presidential travels constitute? Did you hear about the U.S. recently when the president was bailed even for a trip that he took with his family? When they use the Air Force One for any other trips besides a formal presidential trip, they account for it and they reimburse the state for it. In the UK recently, there was a huge furore over a minister who traveled in an emergency to another country using a private jet, the cost of which was nowhere near what we are paying in Ghana. You know, Bella, one is the level of greed. It is the level of corruption, whether we like it or not. Start tabling all these figures from PPA to YEA right down. What has COVID got to do with that? In terms of our unsustainable debt, we were mopped in debt before COVID appeared. The Kinke parties and the Wache parties that took place in the Ministry of Finance after the Euro bond was overly subscribed. Were they not before COVID? In any case, what did they tell us at the time? But Bella, ask yourself, who are the main beneficiaries of all these transactions? It is the finance minister and his companies. It is the then deputy finance minister and his companies. Recently, I heard the deputy finance minister, the new one, Dr. Kuma, actually even threatening people about what it meant to either avoid paying e-levy or evade paying e-levy. I'm delighted that he tried very hard to explain himself and to position it within a certain context. What have they accounted for in terms of the unsustainable debt? And what has changed today?
I'll let you hold on. Sorry to cut you. I'll let you hold on that. We're getting into a conversation about electricity and water. Of course, we've heard from the Electricity Company of Ghana. They're saying that at the moment they are broken, so they need the PURC to agree to their proposal of 148% increase in tariffs. Ghana Water Company Limited also says that we want a 334% increase. Otherwise, we're at risk of coming to a halt if nothing is done about it. Joining us on the phone is Kojo Poku. He is an energy consultant and also hopes to become the flag bearer for the NPP in 2024. Good morning.
Good morning, Bella. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I like the way TV3 has abandoned me midstream.
We haven't abandoned you. We've been trying to reach you for a while. We're glad that you've joined us this morning. But let's have a conversation about the current situation on the market. I've heard you say, and we'll go to transport first of all, after the GPRTU asked that the drivers increase transport fares by 20%. I've heard you say that the timing was wrong because the price of crude oil on the market has stabilized and is coming down, and so they should not have increased their prices just yet.
Yes, I think this outcry for an increase came out of nowhere. We have seen prices going very high. I think in March we had the highest increase at that time when crude oil went to 130. But the prices have come down. What is really causing the problem and the prices not coming back to where it was is the dollar to the cedi. And we have put a bit of pressure on the government to get the Bank of Ghana to intervene. You know, these BDCs normally go into the black market to try and get the quantum of dollars that they need. But Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Energy has put measures in place to be providing forex to the BDCs and the OMCs. And that is helping to bring the prices down. So with the lower prices on the world market and this exercise by Bank of Ghana, we hope that in the coming windows, we will actually see a reduction at the pump. So we thought the GPRTU and the Concerned Drivers Association should have waited for these measures to kick in so that we will see lower prices before they went to now say that they want to do an increase.
Is that not unfair to them? Because they have said that they wrote to government on May 19 expecting a response because they had threatened to increase transport fares. Government did not respond to them. They wrote another letter to them on May 6 before they went ahead to increase prices. They've taken loans. They're paying so much for the cars that they're driving, for the fuel they're buying as well. So why should they wait to a certain time before they reduce or increase their prices when they're losing out?
Well, Bella, you and I know that the volatility in the market, if everybody is to use the volatility to increase prices, then we'll see prices go up and down every day. The serious thing about price fare is that petrol only constitute 1/3 of what they factor in to make a fare. Okay? But what you realize is that if they go up, they never come down. Yes, if they want to practice deregulation, that is fine. in a deregulated market, when prices go down, you bring it down. When prices go up, you take it up. But what we've realized is that prices go up and they never bring it down. So that is what we are saying, that if you are using a certain price to increase your fare, that price is only a transit. Okay, it's transient. So wait for about 2-3 weeks and that price will recede. If you use the higher price, which is transient, to determine your fare, in 3 weeks, when the prices go back down, then you come and tell me about spare parts, insurance, and all the other things which make up the 1/3 of your cost. But the point we're making is that we sympathize with them. That's why the civil society backed them in February when they got the 15% increase. But we think now the situation is receding. I think we've seen the worst that we'll ever see. I don't think crude oil will go back to $130 again. The world will not and cannot sustain higher fuel prices. And it's not only Ghana that is suffering from this Ukraine war. It's everybody, and the world's economy is suffering. So Ghana is not an island on its own.
Well, inflation has gone up by 23.6%, and the highest contributing factor is transport, which is 33.5% of it. What do you say?
Well, exactly the conversation we are having. If everybody feels good, look, transport fare is very a fundamental factor. If we allow some of these inflationary actions to be taken, which is everybody thinking that they can increase fares when they want it, citing unrealistic. Look, people keep saying, no, it's nothing to do with Ukraine, Russia, because the war just started not long ago. The prices started rising last year, March, because Russia took its soldiers to the borders of Ukraine last year, February. So it hasn't just started. It's been going on for over a year. And sometimes people don't want to now talk about the truth of the matter. Nobody wants higher prices because we all pay. And when higher prices come in, everything goes up. Yesterday, I was trying to buy two tomato. 2 tomato for 5 pieces. I mean, I screamed and drove off. It's crazy. Okay, so we all feel the pinch when some of these things go up. So that's why we are saying that we should take their time because they are acting consequences.
But if that's the case, Electricity Company of Ghana is also asking for a 148% increase in tariffs. And they're saying that that's the only way we can match up production cost and a few other costs as well. Ghana Water Company also is asking for more, 334% increase. Otherwise, they will not be able to offer services to Ghanaians. In the face of high rates of inflation, Ghanaians are already burdened. Salaries are the same, and we're having to deal with having to pay, if it is agreed on, more for electricity and water in the country. Is that not too much?
Well, Bella, I think we should situate the conversation in perspective.
Okay.
What we should ask for is that we should ask government, who is the biggest employer, to increase salaries. And private sector should also increase salaries. You see, let's situate this conversation in a business forum. These companies do business. They are not social companies. They don't do social intervention. And it wasn't only ECG and Ghana Water that came to the presentation yesterday. GMPC was there because they give us gas. Ghana Gas was there because they transport the gas. VRA was there because they do hydro and they also receive the gas that they give to the thermals. Greco was there because they do transmission. ECG, who does the distribution, was there. Then Netco and then Ghana Water. So all the people in the value chain was at the presentation and everybody was asking for an increase. So it's not only just ECG. The simple common denominator is that, like you rightfully said, there is inflationary pressure in the system. Everything is going up. In 2019, when we last did the review for these companies, dollar was 5.8. Today, dollar is 7.81. So if you look at a 35% depreciation from 2019 till now, it's difficult to expect them to deliver the services they deliver to me and you in the business context without having to give them a bit more. Nobody is saying that the 148% that they're asking for should be given. But you cannot also say that you will not give them a little bit more unless you want these companies to collapse. So the conversation PLC needs to have is to juxtapose the problem that exists and how much that we need to give them. As can Ghanaians afford, it's up to the employer, who is the government, to now make sure that you give us a bit more, because you can't squeeze water out of a rock. And for now, Ghanaians don't have the money, but we are going to ask them to pay. So what it means is that employers have to pay more. TV3 has to pay you, Bella, a little bit more. Banks have to pay their employer a bit more. Government has to pay its employers a bit more. We cannot say we should let these companies collapse just because somebody refused to pay their employees a bit more.
But if we're paying more for it, let's talk about the inefficiencies of some of these institutions as well. We saw the Auditor General's report, even on ECG, and how much money was being lost, for production. And it says that the ECG incurred expenses to a tune of 182 million Ghana cedis as capacity charge for Senate Energy for 12 months in 2018. Senate only supplied for just 2 months, August and December. That's not all. We talk about prepaid meters that were left to rot for some 5 years and all of that. So if we're looking at all this wastage as a regular Ghanaian and you're asking us to pay more, what exactly are we paying for? For the inefficiencies of an institution?
Well, again, you need to situate the conversation properly. Look, the inefficiency you are talking about is what we call losses. There are commercial losses and there are technical losses. In their presentation, they admitted that the combined loss is about 29%. The PLC benchmark should be 24%. So they are 5% above the benchmark. Now, these losses are factored into the bills you and I pay. What needs to be done? 19% of the 29% is what you call commercial losses. What is commercial losses? It's inability to collect bills that people pay, illegal connections, and these things. That one, there is no excuse, okay? The whip to be clapped on the back of all workers to make sure that they collect the bills. And institutions like Ghana Airport and all these government institutions that don't pay their bill should be made to pay their bill. That is no excuse. So for the 19% commercial losses, all of us are saying that, look, ECG, shame on you, collect the money. But then you cut the 10% technical losses. The technical losses happens because of old machines. The technical losses happen because of their lines are old and some of the connections and the conductors needs to be changed. That they need investment to do. Okay? So that one, if we give them a little bit more money to do that investment, they have promised that in the next 5 years they can bring these losses down by 6%. So you cannot reduce technical losses without investment. So that one, they need money. But you cannot now combine the two and say that, oh, because of inefficiency, why give them more money? We need to situate the conversation and saying, okay, look, we'll give you a little bit more to make investment to reduce your technical losses. But bear in mind, in the long run, when these technical losses are reduced, you and I will pay less because then the losses of the 24%, which is being factored into the bill, will reduce to maybe 15 or 12, which will make our bills much lesser.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, Kojo, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Thank you. Kojo Poku is an energy expert. You two have a lovely day. But let me come to Amma on some of the concerns, of course, and the issues that Kojo has touched on, because those are concerns that Ghanaians are also raising, that you are not doing what you have to do, and yet you expect us to pay a lot more on the services that you provide. How is this fair?
PURC has, over the years, been sent proposals by these utility companies. I remember in 2015, they were sent proposals by the Ghana Water Company for over 400% increase. So as for sending the proposals, you can send. But whether it should be agreed on, and that is why they are engaging all of us. I have to agree with Mr. Poku, is that the name? Poku?
Yeah, Kojo Poku. Yes.
On a lot of the things he said. Yes, we do need to resource them. But then we don't also have to resource them on the blind, just like that. You mentioned issues of electricity.
Wastage and losses?
Not just that, the meters.
Okay.
There are meters that are sitting behind, I think it is in Mungua, just there. Who pays for them? How did they come in? Why is it not being used? And there are consumers who are asking for and are prepared to pay for the meters. These are the little questions we should be asking them. But as for these rates that they have bought, I don't think they themselves think they will receive it at 300%. I don't think so.
Well, electricity is 148. They are saying that if it's not approved, just a quick one, if it's not approved,
they've been saying that for years.
They are given the chance to bring another proposal forward. It will still include this 148% plus
Bella,
whatever changes that may come up.
Every time they come in with these huge increases. I just said 2015, they bought 400 and something. So as for the proposals, yes, you can bring it. We'll look at it. But the levels, no. And then we also have to look at how we are going to force them. I don't know how we're going to do it, but force them through asking them to actually account for what they are doing. Because those losses, if they cut it out, I'm sure it would take out a lot of the things we would have to pay for. So it's good we are talking about it. But as for the 300 and something, I don't think any one of us would agree to it. They'll get some, but they will not get the 300 and something. Before we got there, we were talking about the inflation rates and all that. But let's remember, I just checked the figures you quoted for Nigeria. That was somewhere 2 months ago. Ours is now. So I think we should wait a bit and let's see what they would also drop before we make those comparisons. But I'll still retrace the fact that I just think that the whole world is going through issues and it affects us. We should rather look at how we are going to survive this situation for now. About the GPRTU issues and the transport fare, I have no choice but to agree with Mr. Opoke again that perhaps they should have, as he said, had a few conversations with those they should have it with. But be it as it may, they have already increased it. Are they trying to tell us that if we get up tomorrow morning and the price of fuel have dropped significantly, would they drop the transport prices? Because I've never heard them do that before. Perhaps we should also be asking them a few questions.
We should be asking them a few questions.
Yes, about this whole issue.
But they haven't had a chance to increase the transport fares.
Oh, but they said they are going to increase it anyway.
Well, I mean, the last time they
have increased it.
The last time they got an increase was in February.
Yes.
But even this recent one that because they're saying that it's exclusive of lubricant cost, spare parts, and all of that. It's only pegged at the fuel price on the market.
So that's the question I'm asking. That's just in case tomorrow morning we wake up and the fuel prices have dropped significantly. Are they also going to drop the transport prices?
Okay, let me bring lawyer in.
Well, I mean, you know, I shudder to think what goes on in the minds of President Akufo-Addo and his Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when they go into their homes, into the very, very private moments that they have to reflect on just how low they have sunk the image and the economy of this country. I shudder to think what they tell their innermost self about where we are today. I believe that listening to my brother, I'm not even sure whether he's actually speaking to the issues that are within the public domain or just his own assessment as someone coming from the industry. And I remember him a few years ago and how he thought he had all these ideas about what PULC could do to further improve the lot of ECG. I'm surprised that today he's not making those same recommendations. And I think you said he was trying to contest for president or something. So maybe he's just trying to create a certain impression and generate this sort of conversation, maybe so that people think that he's staying in the middle. Of course, he needs the support of the powers that be. Be that as it may, have we gone to check presently how much persons who lead ECG earn in salaries and remunerations? Have we gone to check the level of procurement breaches currently taking place at the ECG? Have we found out what happened to the energy sector levy and why today we are in the challenges in which we find ourselves? If we had not gone and collateralized half of that levy, if even whatever little was left was being paid into the requisite account, I'm sure maybe things would be better. I remember when President Mahama came up with this proposal that government agencies should go on the solar so that they could have these rebates that allow for them to make time to settle the outstanding bills. You see, it is not every policy of an administration that is wrong. The same technical advisors they have today were similar people advising even the S1 administration. So for most of the conversations we are having today, you realize that there are conversations we've had over the years, maybe in the last 10 years. What has changed? What has changed is that we created the impression that everything that the former administration was doing was wrong and not right for the good people of Ghana, even in the way in which ECG was being managed. Today, what are we being told? The waste has not stopped. The procurement lapses have not changed. The level of corruption has not changed. And let me repeat, just for the record, that imagine that the NDC were in office and the propaganda built around the office of the special prosecutor had taken place and that office had become almost moribund, totally unheard of. even not funded enough even to execute or prosecute his agenda. Can you imagine the conversations that will be taking place that they were in opposition? And imagine that this conversation around PURC and ECG had come up at a time when we were in office. Imagine nobody will be giving you any platitudes. You will be condemned in serious terms. Look, the reality is that I think that those of us who have every opportunity to call out this government must do so largely on their own promises. They are not promises I put in their manifesto. When they were singing from those sheets of paper, people queuing everywhere, long queues to imbibe those promises, we were nowhere near there. In fact, we were literally condemned to the point where sometimes I even wondered whether we'll be able to survive even as a political grouping. Everything has come back home to roost. And we now know that once we started the e-levy conversations, what were we told? We'll be more accountable. We'll account for every penny. We'll show how it's been expended, how they'll build schools. Today, the GET fund is in arrears. You've heard about what has happened with free SHS. Even bursaries have not gone. And Charles is threatening even to close down the schools. Cross-check and listen to stakeholders. There are conversations around our current educational system and how challenging the future is going to be. Look at the challenges even in our... Look at the water, for example. How many people get water in Ghana? Adenta and others, they're getting tap water. Where is the water today? You know, look, nothing is working in this country anymore. It is a sign of what is happening. When the fish starts to rot, it rots from the head. The minute President Akufo-Addo started his luxury travels, thinking that he was in his second term and it was time to relax and enjoy his presidency and ignore all the noises people were making, everything was bound to trickle down. And it is exactly where we are.
But you already mentioned that these problems even persisted before
and there were solutions that were in the pipeline. And they challenged us on the fact that it was because we were unable to deliver on those challenges. It is why they were coming into office. What have they done since they've been in office? If I thought we were going to continue having these conversations, how many years later? To be honest, well, I probably would not even want to communicate for the NDC.
But Kojo Poku has said that when it comes to ECG, there are technical problems that needs to be addressed.
It is the same technical problems that existed when they brought in PDS. What happened to the money PDS collected? What happened to the transaction fees that were paid to people who were not deserving of them? What happened to the rules and regulations of the Procurement Act that were flaunted and brought in the PDS? Remember the shareholding structure? Who did not condemn that whole activity? Part of the reasons why we are where we are is because of what happened with PDS. The promises they made about having paid people's electricity bills. Are we not told that those monies have not gone to the electricity company of Ghana? You know, Bella, it is not because I am NDC that I'm speaking. It is more because every Ghanaian is speaking to the same things that we are talking about. At the point where we are, it is why I come back to this point. I think that government should actually step down its high horse and start to confront the reality of our times. That at any given time, this is one of the most abysmal in terms of performances. That the jobs they promised have failed to materialize. That the corruption they promised to deal with. Have you seen where we are on the Corruption Perception Index? Have you seen where we are even on press freedoms? On all the indexes that actually indicate a certain peer review mechanism, Ghana is woefully falling flat. And when you talk about our inflation, it is just symptomatic of what we've seen over the years. And you know, it is not because we want power that we should lie to citizens. You know the reality. You understand the challenges. Why did you go out on this borrowing expedition as though we didn't even know what we were looking for or how we intended to administer this country? The reason we are where we are, Bella, is the burdensome debt. And now we are failing even to meet our interest liabilities to the international community. Have you heard of any finance minister who has gone on a roadshow and come back and fallen flat before in this history? A man touted as being one of the best minds that Ghana ever produced. You know, the propaganda will help you up to a point. Okay. I'm even surprised that we are at this point where we are having these conversations. In the past, it was very difficult even to have these conversations where you are actually criticizing government, where you are laying bare. Look, go to the forex bureaus. Take what BOG says aside. Ask how much you will buy $1 for. It will be 8 cedis.
Okay.
And that is the reality.
Ellen,
irrespective of what we say.
Ellen, so companies have to pay more to to their workers. Salaries have to increase. And that's a concern that even Mr. Angel Kabonu, who's the president of NAGRAT, has put out. He says that if you look at the inflation rates, then clearly government will have to pay us a lot more at this point so we can also survive the current situation in the country. Is that possible?
That's why negotiations are going on. I mean, if it's possible, I'm sure government would pay. I know all the TUC, the labor, that's their name, labor unions, are in different levels, different forms of negotiations. So yes, government acknowledges that salaries and things have to be paid. And I'm sure they would, eventually when they get on it, we would hear about it. But I still will go back. I mean, there are a lot of things Auntie Joyce said that I want to talk about. I mean, all in relation to our economy and everything we have been discussing. I still find it a bit intriguing and surprising that she's on this tangent of government, or practically the president and the vice president being arrogant. They are not. They've never been. It's impossible to pin a character to somebody.
Arrogance is when our economy
is impossible to pin a character to somebody when you. I mean, it's obvious. They are not. She's trying very hard to pin it at them, and it won't wash. And as I said when she mentioned this whole arrogance matter, it's good she's advising, because obviously it looks like that is what the NDC went through in 2016, and they're still going through that. So we are not going to talk about personalities and the arrogance, but arrogance is when you have failed woefully. Ghanaians have asked you to go and sit down, and you are still trying very, very hard to come back as a flag bearer. That smacks more of arrogance to me. Yes, because it means that whatever your people are saying, you are not listening to. So we shouldn't be going at the individuals.
Is your government
should. I believe this government is one of the best listening governments we have ever had. The government listens and reacts. You might agree with the reaction. You might not agree with the reaction. But at least there's a reaction. There's a step taken. This business of trying to paint Mr. Akufo-Addo and Mr. President, Vice President Bawumia as arrogant, as I said this morning, it will not wash. So, we are all Ghanaians. We all feel exactly what is going on. These issues were not created by the current issues. They are issues that have happened to us. They are issues we have inherited. I mean, in 2015, when China was having a slowdown in their growth, ex-President Mahama actually blamed our problems here in Ghana on China. So if you have a whole pandemic that has practically brought down world systems, and we are trying to get ourselves out, you don't go attacking the person who is leading it that he's arrogant. He's arrogant for what?
But the person
for trying to solve the problem.
Was flying a private jet.
And
the president, it only took him to fly a commercial just recently. The president, after many times of flying the private jet, at the point when the finance minister said we were broke.
Akufo-Addo is the only president in Ghana who has flown a private jet before.
It's not about that. It's about the current economic situation and the fact that we are in a pandemic. We've been in a pandemic for a while. Now we're also facing the effects of Russia and Ukraine.
Your people
and
say,
yet he was still flying
don't come back.
To the
Arrogance
of
is
Ghana's
when
economy.
You have been sent out by almost 1 million votes, and you are trying very, very hard by every way possible to come back as a flag bearer. That is arrogance.
Until then, what? About 5 million or what?
Until we go to the polls in 2024. And Ghanaians decide that they don't want the NPP again, which obviously is not going to be the case. Okay. You cannot. And we will not allow you to pin arrogance on us. Okay. You are the lead practitioners of arrogance.
But I'll put it very mildly, despite mass effusions, that we are not in government.
Okay.
And if you want, go back to the tapes and play all the posturing. Metro TV does a fantastic job. They show them all the time, even on your show last week. Show us. Even her posturing this morning speaks to the arrogance that we will not admit that we failed.
I mean, seriously.
That we will not admit that we
No.
Okay.
I always keep on telling
you we've done is
that when you come at me, what is my posturing? What have I said? Obviously, you who have been with the president, the former president, you are still his PA. You are enjoying from the leisures of government. Okay, you are not arrogant, but I am.
Elena Madeko
I mean, seriously,
running for the women's organizer.
Should we be talking about the mass lock COVID monies that you are enjoying?
And also, lawyer Joyce Bar Mukhtari is a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama, a former Deputy Transport Minister. TV3 New Day continues. We have sports, we have more, and today we have the man who could have won Artist of the Year, Kweku the Traveler. He'll be joining us this morning. Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. Black Sheriff. Well, you're getting some fans here this morning. Happy birthday to Nita Kotaki from Apostolic Empowerment Ministry, Dan Soman from Alfred and all the Happy Mama crew, and also to Prophetess Barbara Esinama Dosu from Richard Crabb. May you grow in grace and in good health. And to everyone else, happy birthday to you. Good morning to Nanaya. I've seen your questions. Maybe tomorrow we'll ask them. We'll be back with more. Keep watching. Thank you, ladies.